Well, hello, that's me again. Today is August 28th, and it is not morning when I usually make my videos. It is actually 9 o'clock here in Seattle, and but there are some things which you see, it's the second time when I'm doing this in the evening. Actually, I believe it is the third, actually. When I have to bring up some things which are so fundamental to everything what is happening that it's very difficult to basically continue to comment on any kind of the political news, and especially all this white noise emanating or radiating from the US and Western media and White House and Trump and everything, that it is a good time now when things somewhat slow for now, before they obviously going to reach the fever pitch on the September 3rd, with the China celebrating 80th anniversary of the defeat of Japan, with a huge help, by the way, of the Red Army. So, and those festivities and incredible representation of the international community, primarily what would be called Global South. So, before that we go, we need to understand some fundamental things. But obviously, we're gonna discuss a little bit of what is happening in the line of the combat contact, if you wish, or on the fronts, and this is the only thing which really matters whenever we talk about the, well, what is essentially the war between Russia and the combined West, with United States now being in some kind of the, I don't know how to say it, it's something very strange in terms of position of the United States and its president, who probably feels the pinch but cannot do much, but in the same time he has to do some things to save United States, because United States also faces a catastrophe, economic and cultural and what have you. With the exception of that, in Europe, this catastrophe is the fait accompli. I never make a secret about this. I speak about this, directly, and many people, for some reason, think that because I hate Europeans. No, I don't hate Europeans. In fact, I empathize with many of them. But Europe is done. United States not dead yet. So, but it has to do something very fast. But before we go and discuss what is this all about, let's take a look at, you saw yourself actually in the beginning how the Russians attack, and you saw yourself extremely fast. Strike means, then we now know that there is obviously a Bayraktar plant this is just by Ukrainians. This is the plant which Turks were building for Bayraktar assembly and all other drones of this type, which are large drones and they are recon strike systems. They're not going to be producing them anymore. And the same, like this will happen with the rest of those enterprises which Europe tries to constantly build, for some reason thinking that they can do it. Well, they can't. They will be annihilated. Russians have all kinds of means of the fire impact and the best long-range fires in the world. So, excellent targeting too. So, and for example, if you take a look at answer, everybody talks about this Simferopol, whatever recon ship which was sunk by Russian unmanned surface vehicle. Big freaking deal. Russians been using those also for a while. Now we have also the death of they launched one of the missiles of the anti-shipping missile of Neptune of the Neptune complex. Then, of course, Mr. Iskander flies in, takes out the command post, and then, as you can see yourself, the thing self-launches, essentially, so harmless, absolutely. So, if we're gonna go now, and we're gonna take a look at also how they, basically destroy their own it's apartment blocks essentially in Kiev somewhere, and it is what you see here is the strike by the useless the air defense missile, which obviously never hit anything. They do hit the apartment blocks though well, and of course all those whores and prostitutes in the Western media talk about that Russians attack somehow the civilian areas. Russians do not attack civilian areas, but it is what it is. So there is nothing to discuss here. It is very clear what is going on. And if we go and take a look at the today's tally, As you can see yourself, it's there is another plane Russians shut down somehow. I don't know. I didn't see anything in the news yet. Probably will be. And yeah, as you can see yourself, pretty much same old, same old. So if we go to our good friend Marat Khairulin and Colonel Popov for yesterday, this is the Krasnoarmeysk, which you all know as Pokrovsk. This was yesterday, and as you can see yourself, Russians are controlling basically about the half of the city, and they will continue to move it, clearing the remnants of the defense there, whatever the resistance they apply, all those kind of, the remnants of the armed forces of Ukraine and a bunch of their, volunteers, if you wish. And here is the Pokrovsk map on the larger scale. As you can see yourself, you can see those yellow things happening inside, deep inside Krasnoarmeysk, which is Russians are calling now with its proper name. And then you have this, this intestine, so to speak, around Rodinska, which is now surrounded. And yeah, so if they have a chance, they have to run now. But most of them probably will not, because nobody will give them order, and Nazis will first shoot at the backs of the retreating Ukrainian soldiers, and then they will run themselves. And they will run, obviously, throughout all kinds of what is called backyards, but they will be found out and they will be killed, annihilated. So this is the situation, and Kupiansk is almost completely surrounded, and that's what dictates actually the modern geopolitics, if you wish, because everything is related to, the warfare, and the way Russians prosecute it, and, as I spoke about it in my last video, and headlines, even Western media, state now that, yeah, the war has been lost, Russians won, and things like that. Yeah, it's just a matter of time, before Zelensky, he cannot do anything about it, he cannot agree with Russian conditions, otherwise he will be killed by his Nazi handlers, or rather those people who are behind him. Is all this Nazi element supported by United States and United Kingdom, for example, and Germans. Germans obviously love their Nazis. So, but it doesn't matter. No matter what they do, it's just already done deal. And after that, it just, how many more they want to kill. Evidently, they now open the borders for the young people of the ages of between 22 and 25. I heard this in the news, which is very significant, because in the first hours already 11,800 young men already left Ukraine. I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe they want to preserve the sperm bank, because obviously they simply ran out of people. Simple as that. And that's their only, last chance to preserve some kind of the Ukrainian community elsewhere. But that's the whole other story and the whole other can of worms. But let's go now to something which really matters. Great deal. And we're going to be going back a little bit, about half a year, and then, further down the road, to closer to our times, so to speak, which are August 2025, and you will understand what is happening. I will start with the hysterical article from the Atlantic. And you have to keep in mind that Atlantic is, it's globalist, neocon, all kinds of things, so liberal interventionist, whatever you call it, people with no honor, no integrity, but they sing the song on behalf of those morons from Europe, which obviously feel themselves absolutely cut out, basically they do not have access to what Russians and Americans are talking about. And so Atlantic, as you can see yourself today, publishes this piece, which is called "Did the White House Not Understand What Putin Was Really Offering? Europeans can tell what American officials agreed to with the Russian leader." Yeah, and again, it's not Europe's business. Europe is the object. And it's done. It's done as the great power. Everything what is happening right now in all those big honchas, which used to be of the European Union and European NATO, they are turning into the, what can I say, the third world, countries. That's what they are. And so nothing I can do about it. So, but, and here comes this very important issue about what Russians and Americans are talking about, which Europeans are really keenly interested in, especially if you consider the fact that Europeans are actually, in terms of energy, They are paupers. They don't have any. And let me get you a little bit back to 2012. And here it is. Let me show you something. You probably don't remember it, but it was 2012. It was the whole, the story worthy of the actually the movie when the city of town of Nome, which is in Alaska, was really running low on fuel, and it was actually, blocked by the horrendous storms and then the ice which blocked it, and so the situation was pretty bad, and the Russian tanker delivering fuel to Alaska town of Nome, cut off by ice and extreme weather, has reached the western coastline of Alaska. So it was the epic struggle of the US Coast Guard icebreaker Healy and Russian tanker, which carried 1.3 million gallons of fuel, and so they basically eventually reached, the whatever the barge was there to reload this fuel, and Nome was essentially, well, saved. Maybe it's a too exaggeration to say that it was saved, but in many respects it was, from freezing to death essentially. So that was a wonderful example of the Russians and Americans doing things, but of course we have to keep in mind that at that time it was the only US icebreaker called Healy. Yeah, it's US Coast Guard. And so what is this all about? Let's start with a couple of weeks ago. And this is really, really something. Look at this. It's Reuters, no less. Suddenly they go an exclusive US multi-use of Russia icebreakers for gas development ahead of summit. Sources, okay, whatever, sources, sure. Marva Rashad and Anna Hirtenstein, whatever they, August 15, it's 13 days, almost 2 weeks ago, and they're showing the launch of one of the hulls of the Yakutia nuclear icebreaker by Russia, but Americans were thinking about, yes, how to use this huge Russian icebreaker fleet, among which there are 9 nuclear-powered mightiest icebreakers in the world, and 2 more are soon to be floated, including this monster of the Russia type, which is 70,000 of the immense power, capable of breaking through any ice. And I want to get you, in this case, to March. And what is March? Why it is so it matters? Well, it was the article which also was actually quoted by the none other than Russian media also, and the article was called this. It was the March of this year, March 31, 2025, so it was 5 months ago. And here they talk about it. Lure of the North, what Russia's Arctic can offer Trump. It was before their meeting in Alaska and before this hysteria from Europeans, which we all know is ongoing and reaching the feverish pitch, is about whatever Russians and Americans were discussing. And of course, those negotiations and those contacts were happening even before this meeting in Anchorage between Trump and Putin. And here it is. They talk about that Putin proposes giving the US a stake in the minerals, rare earth, and vast natural gas deposits in the region. This is the Washington Post article. And I can tell you one thing, as much as I hate to admit it, in some sense they are correct. Obviously, their so-called sources, which leakage, basically, they obviously, as always, reshape and reiterate it in such a way that it all looks and sounds horrible for anybody who is responsible citizen in the United States. But here's the thing, which cannot be denied, and which Washington Post is writing about, obviously, as I already stated, completely, perverting facts. But look at this. Arctic was discussed between Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin in Alaska, and there were constant contacts, and they are ongoing as we speak between Americans and Russians. Here is the map, which is a good map. I like it. That's very good. Look what it says. First, about Northern Sea route, which is completely Russian controlled. It's basically the whole infrastructure is by Russians. And they say that in 2024, 97 transit voyages through the Northern Sea route carried a low total cargo volume that was 45% higher than the previous year. I understand that this year it grows even more. And then they show, you see what it is, in the dark, whatever the maroon or whatever the hell the color is, the pink, dark pink, whatever. So as you can see yourself, they talk about potential discovered gas areas in the Arctic in trillion cubic feet. Well, when they say about Stockman gas field, which is totally within Russian territorial waters and Russian pie, so to speak, of Arctic, it's not a potential. It is a colossal gas and gas condensate field. Just gigantic, monstrous. And before 2021, Russians and, the Western participants, including from Norway, they were talking about putting their, basically developing those wells, which are there, differ on the depths from 300 to 600 meters, because the field is colossal. And you can see yourself also the Bovanenko gas field, and where also we have the other land-based gas deposits which are processed by this famous Sabeta port. We'll talk about what Sabeta is. And as you can see yourself, all the United States, remember Trump wanted Canada and Greenland to be part of the United States for Arctic reason. He needed this access. But if you take a look, circled in the red, you see this? This is also colossal gas field. You see, it's dark color, whatever. And as you can see yourself, it is to the north of Alaska. And what it means, it is all within the Arctic Circle. And here, before we proceed with this basically article in Washington Post, which speaks about what could possibly be discussed between Russians and Americans, here is Reuters for you, and that is a shocker actually, because it also kind of opens, lifts the curtain a little bit for us to kind of peek inside what was and is being discussed. Here it is. This is Reuters. As you can see yourself, also 2 weeks So I already spoke about it, but the point is that if we consider Reuters article, so what do we have? We have, let's go to WAPO again, and what do they write? A recent analysis by RAND, and the moment the RAND or any organization like this factors in, throw it away. It's garbage. But we could find ourselves in a situation where the Russians want to improve its relations with the US or not, they can't, because they become completely dependent on Chinese, because we have cut them off. Rubio told conservative outlet Breitbart News. So it's all garbage, of course. It's complete lie. It's written by people who have no clue, but that was the kind of the mood, And again, I want to get you back again to this Reuters, okay? You see, just for you to remember this, exclusive US moved the use of Russia icebreakers for gas development ahead of summit. Okay, moved, or is it moving it? We don't know yet, but WAPO obviously continues to, with all this garbage. So this is what they do, and so as you can see yourself, it is written by people who I won't allow to mow the lawn in front of my house, or for that matter anywhere else. Some Natalia Abakumova in Riga, Latvia. Okay, sure. Yeah, it's a very friendly environment there. And Francesca Ebel in Moscow contributed. Well, who cares what they contributed? Washington Post lies most of the time. But we have to keep in mind what we are talking about, and I'm bringing this map back to you. You see? This map, again, look at it. These are largest gas deposits and fields in the world today, at least northern hemisphere. Maybe there is something down there, in the southern hemisphere. But certainly these are gigantic fields, and one of those fields belongs to the United States. Guess what? To get to this field, what do you need? Correct. You need icebreakers. United States doesn't have any which are capable to handling of those massive ice fields, and but Russians do. And here comes this issue which you have to understand. The port of Sabeta. Many people probably never heard about it, but this is the Novatech place. And for those people who do not understand what Sabeta is, it's a gigantic liquefaction facility of the natural gas. And look at this. This is Sabeta at the night. It's a colossal port and a colossal facility which does the liquefaction in Arctic, beyond the Arctic Circle. So if you take a look how they live, there you go. They live obviously not permanently, but these are very nice, housing there for people who work in the Sabeta. It's one of them. There is a couple of more, but they kind of spread around. And of course, they have this pretty decent airport, actually, considering the fact that it can take any kind of the aircraft from Boeing 737 to Tupolev Tu-114 to MS-21, what have you. And it's a decent airport, but it is all in the Arctic. It is all completely covered during most of the time of the year in snow and ice. And what do Russians do in terms of ice and snow? And well, what can I say? Here is what you can see. This is the Arctic North route. It's one of this latest, it's called Project 222222 nuclear icebreaker. I don't see which one of them. It could be, I don't know, I don't want to speculate, but it's one of the newest ones. And as you can see yourself, it pulls well, actually it doesn't pull. What happens, the ship or the vessel, which is being freed from the ice, and being, established in the line of convoy, it basically puts itself back into the back of this icebreaker, which breaks ice and allows the ship, the vessel, cargo vessel in this particular case, to follow it until the clear water. And you can see yourself, for example, this is Sabeta. This is in Sabeta. For Christophe de Margerie goes out of Sabeta, and it's a colossal tanker. It's about 300 meters. And it carries the liquefied natural gas, and it's named after the Christophe de Margerie, the guy who was the CEO of the French Total, and he was really, he was a Russophile, and he actually died under very bizarre circumstances, and no less than in Russia. It's actually his private jet struck the snow cleaning machine on the runway. It's like bizarre. But no, that's after his name, and you can see his actually the mustache on the bow of the ship. And as you can see yourself, next to it is one of the, I believe it's the 50 years of victory. I believe it's another older but still very much alive and kicking nuclear-powered icebreaker. This is a 25,000 tons of the nuclear might, which can break any kind of ice. And as you can see yourself, this is how it is all done. And here is another convoy of the ships. You see, they follow this clear water, which was broken for them by the icebreakers. And as you can see yourself, there are container ships, bulk carriers, what have you, tankers. And this is what Russians do on both the North Arctic sea route and, of course, in terms of delivering all this liquefied natural gas to anywhere in the world. And here comes this issue. You have to ask yourself, is the United States interested in employing those capabilities? Apart from the fact that Russians already held conference in 2021, and believe me, it already has been delivered, about the technology and complete import substitution of all those Norwegian, American, and what have you drilling technologies for one of those wells in the Stockman gas field. Well, guess what? Russian military industrial complex is known to find solutions for everything, literally. And as the result, Russia has technologies now of the developing of the both Stockman, the field, and of course Russians have the fleet of not only the nuclear icebreakers, but also the patrol ships, which are Northern Fleet, which are capable to defend it from anybody, apart from the fact that Russians obviously have basically Murmansk, and Severomorsk is the base of the Russia's North Fleet. And this is a mighty fleet, believe me. So when you look at this, the question is, are Americans interested in developing their Alaska colossal field? Despite the fact that American possessions in terms of Arctic, they are not as big as that of Russia's, but it happened so that in American sector you have this colossal gas field. These are trillions of dollars I'm talking about. Do you think United States need this money, or you can bet you're behind on that? And here is the issue. United States alone cannot do that. That's the funny thing. You have to break through the ice. You have to constantly keep those things moving. It's a colossal logistic and other operation which would involve icebreakers. Will Americans go for Russian cooperation here? I don't know. But we can only assume that. Can you imagine when you have such a treasure? And it is a treasure. Could be actually American ticket out of the economic catastrophe. At least it will allow to create some kind of the pillow, if you wish, on which the landing will be not crash landing, it will be hard landing. But United States can survive, unlike it is Europe. And that's why Europeans are really worried about it. Well, Russians also worried, because obviously Russians do not trust much to American side. Russians do not want to talk to Europeans anymore. It is clear who those people are. But here is the issue, which Mr. Peskov also stated, that everything which is being discussed on those discussions, negotiations between Americans and Russians, as he stated, it should stay confident. It should stay secret, essentially. And what can I say? That's the only way to do it. That's the only way to approach it, because obviously Europe will try to sabotage it. And, well, Europe still can do some damage. I mean, despite the fact that it is an impotent continent now, and yeah, it is essentially the energy starving, and that's pretty much the one-way ticket, guys. And you know where it is. It's one-way ticket to a dumpster of history. Because suddenly all this prosperity and all these wonderful things which Europe used to be able to come up with, including through colonialism and exploiting colonies, let's not forget that, it's over. It's over. It's not there anymore. And Europe doesn't have resources. Russians know what is going on. And apart from those patrol icebreakers, obviously Russia has those things. And suddenly the national interest kind of gets into this, oh my God, well, it's alarmist, but it's in sense also correct, that how Russia's new Perm submarine could dominate the Arctic Circle. This is today's article. First, it has to be understood, Russians build those things and they have an enormous firepower. They don't build them just for the Arctic. It just happens so that Northern Fleet is called Northern Fleet because it is located close to the, or in the Arctic Circle, which is the city of Severomorsk, and all those bases of the nuclear submarines there. So, and this is one of the latest Yasin class. It is purposefully designed to carry the Zircon, hypersonic weapon. And as a result, they talk about this, and yeah, they admit that introducing the new Yasin M-class submarine into the Arctic equipped with Zircon hypersonic missile is a clear sign that Russia intends to be the most powerful actor at the top of the world. Russia is already the most powerful actor at the top of the world, and this is especially considering the dynamics of the Russian modernization of the Russian naval nuclear forces, and of course, hunter killers, if you wish, or fast attack, whatever they call the hell you want to call it, such as the Yasin state-of-the-art submarines carrying the deadliest weapon known into the conventional world today. So these remarks, they're talking about, in other words, the Washington has focused on the war in Ukraine, a war that has gone on far too long, and yeah, so they write all kinds of garbage about it. But these remarks were made in relation to the recent launch of the Russian Navy newest Yasin M-class submarine, the Perm. In reality, it's not really Perm. It's not hair term. It's the city, Perm. According to Thomas Nielsen, writing in the pages of the Barents Observer, another basically front for the intelligence services and garbage, it's trash paper, but nonetheless. The Perm is the first of the Yasin M class that will be a regular carrier of Zircon missiles, the weapon designed to be armed either with conventional warhead or a nuclear warhead. Yeah, correct. And so they talk about it with, yes, the Perm missile loadout should frighten the Pentagon. Maybe, well, considering the professional level of recent crop of the people who work in Pentagon, who knows, they may not even understand the ramifications of all that. So the Perm holds particular significance as the first Yasin M-class submarine, purpose-built as a regular carrier of 3M-22 Zircon hypersonic missiles, rather than retrofitted like some earlier units. This capability positions Perm as a key asset for hypersonic strikes, potentially targeting naval vessels or land-based assets at high speeds. Reports indicate that Perm integration of Zircon represents a shift towards standardizing hypersonic weapon on new submarines, with future units like Ulyanovsk, Voronezh, and Vladivostok expected to follow suit. Pardon me. And so it's the end of the day. But then again, do not forget that Russian surface ships are carrying Zircons now, and even small missile boats are carrying Zircons and Onyxes and all these horror missile weapons, and it's all integrated in the the recon strike complexes. They has the excellent targeting in real life, so in real time. Yeah, it's the end of the day. I'm beginning to get tired, really. So anyhow, this is what is happening. United States will not be able to control the Arctic. Obviously, Russians do not have any claims on American part of it, and they respect it and all that. But that's the whole thing. Stockman alone, if you look at the map again, is a colossal treasure. Russia owns it. And then Alaska has its incredible treasure. So, what are we going to do with this? Are they discussing those things? Yes, they do. I'm pretty sure they are discussing those things. And if Trump is smart and he has any kind of the backbone left, I don't think so he has much left, but still, he's not influenced by neocons or his narcissism. He has a chance to get to those treasures which may provide affordable energy and the trade for the United States in the nearest decades. And Stockman alone, depending on how you use it, it has 50 plus years of basically reserves for gas. And then, of course, there is the whole other Arctic thing, which United States and Russia can talk about. But we'll see. I'm just giving you some information about that. And do Russians have their Arctic experience, including the settlements and operating them? Yeah, the best in the world. There's nobody even close who can come to what Russians do in Arctic, ranging from the floating nuclear power stations to making settlements to providing the air bases, military bases too, and all kinds of infrastructure which serves Nordic Arctic route. And obviously, as actually Gazprom stated that the Stockman could be unsealed, if you wish, by 2029, depending on how it all goes. Who knows? But this was the point which I wanted to make for you today. And this video will be available for my patrons on the Patreon just now. And it will probably go public next day, tomorrow at some time. But I have completely busy morning, and I have to be talking to Joseph Rose and then to Randy on the WBAI radio station for New York, together with Larry Johnson. So it's crazy there. And so this is my video for today. And as always, guys, in the end, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. So I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.